Sorry,
Okay,
no.
you didn't. That's fine. I was just checking in. So we'll still like move forward, right? There will be weeks I can't come, so we'll just go backwards. It's totally fine. So we're gonna do the theme of this sort of the last few weeks have just been adding complexity and kind of progressing movements into, I would say, same family, but making them either a little heavier or a little more complicated, depending on which, what weights you have and what's appropriate for you. Today is no different. We have some similar movements. It's going to be deadlift biased. That's kind of we're just going to squat and push and you have the usual stuff. So it's going to be something where, well, let's just talk about it first, shall we? We have 4 times through 6 cross body single leg deadlifts. We've done cross body deadlifts, so we can do 2-footed, meaning you don't have to lift a leg. If you want a single leg bias, you're adding complexity, and the cross body is also complex. This does require some mild rotation. For anyone with rotation sensitivity, you could be either super gentle about this or just keep it in this plane here instead of rotating side to side. But if you swim, you should be able to do this. I say in theory, okay? I'm not an expert, but if you could reach in and do this, you could probably reach and rotate the other side. Followed by 6 to 8 side plank rotations. You can add weight to this, and I'll show you what that might look like as well. And then we're going to finish off, I'll post this in just a moment, alternating EMOM. So that's every minute on the minute. That just means we're working for 45 seconds or less of any given movement. Your 3 movements are going to be head cutters or thrusters. Head cutter, forgive the name. It's a terrible name. Basically, can't think of it. That's what I've seen. That's what it's called. We'll talk about it. You'll see why, but you're not actually, there's no head cutting of any kind, okay? But that or thrusters, depending on the apparatus you have. So whether you have a kettlebell or a dumbbell, it'll vary, but it's a similar motion. And then we have push-ups and body saws. So I'll post that right now, actually, before I forget. I'm going to screw this up, aren't I? Yep, screwed it up already. Here you go. Edit. There you go. I don't know how to use this thing. Push-ups. You get the idea. I know it's not quite edited correctly, but there it is on screen. So let's just start with our normal warm-up, just some floor pieces, and then we'll get into more specific movements. So first and foremost, let's have a start with some cat-cows, the usual business. Find your spot. Move this actually to be warm. Okay. So tabletop position. Gently moving the spine. You can drop the head. Just raise the belly button. Once you completed your 10, take time with these. Went for 10 in total. You do our bird dogs. So for your bird dog, same thing, alternating arms and legs. If you're feeling fancy, you can bring your knee towards your elbow, right? Or keep that very much in a neutral, as in bring back to where you started. So adding bending of the spine is an option. It's not a requirement. We're just adding complexity. You are going to add this bend to the back, gentle bend. We can stay on one side for 5 before switching to the other side. If you're alternating, just go ahead and alternate. So for someone with constrained space, I know just the way I'm oriented, you can also bias a limb, meaning you always just take one limb out and extend, right? Extend the leg fully. right? Or extend the arm fully instead of trying to fit both into a tight space, which is always an option. Once you have your 10-ish, let's go ahead and do some inchworms next. So an inchworm, at least the way I teach it, is where you're going to start at the edge of your yoga mat, the edge of your surface. You're going to walk into push-up shape, and you can't see me, but I can't get my whole body when I do this. You're going to touch your toes. Bending your knees is okay. Walk out to your plank shape. You're going to get some kind of push-up, whether the knees come down or not. It's okay if they do. And then you're going to go ahead and worm or push yourself back up. Walk your hands back to your feet. Standing up is an option. I like it. You don't have to. That's 1 rep. Let's do 4 more. Even if you don't want to do push-ups without your knees, this can be very much I usually use my knees as I just demonstrated, just because it's the first push-up of the day for me. So I want to keep it on the easy side. You can bend the knee for this. Legs do not have to remain straight. Oh, also, we should all say, go Meg. Yay. She's on her way to Helsinki to do the thing. So my pom-poms, I'd raise them, but I don't have any. Good. Once you have your 5 inchworms, we'll take a seat. Let's do our 90-90s. There we go. So feet about shoulder width. You're gonna just drop legs off to the side. Again, if you need to lean back, that's fine. We're gonna do 10. I see rotations. What are we gonna call these? Side to side. And when you're on this, when you switch sides, you can kind of come back from that leaning position and either come to with vertical is relative or slightly forward. The forward is more of a stretch, vertical is kind of neutral, and back is kind of deloading, or I feel a stretch more in this top hip. Nothing wrong with either of those. When I'm doing this, I'm very much on one leg. So I'm on my right leg right now. My left butt cheek is distinctly off the ground. Okay, my left knee is on the ground, but I'm not trying to keep both hips even unless that's what feels best. Okay, beautiful. So once you have that, give her 10. Again, give or take. We'll do one more floor piece before we come to more dynamic stuff. And that's going to be our rotations or thoracic rotations. So I call it threading the needle. You're going to be on a tabletop shape. I'm going to big open up chest. I'm looking at my hand above my head, and I'm going to thread this hand between this gap as much as you feel safe. Let that shoulder drop if you want. And then repeat this on one side for 5 reps. Your level of rotation, how much you rotate is up to you. And of course, you can switch sides once you do 5 reps. It's okay to notice a rotational difference. So you might notice one hand is easier to bring through or raise up into the ceiling. We're going to take a kneeling position. You can't see my head. We're going to take a kneeling position. If you're gonna need something soft for your knees, that's fine. This back foot can be flexed or not. I tend to keep it flat here. What I'm gonna do is, first and foremost, my right knee is down right now. My left knee is forward. I want to squeeze my right butt cheek first, just like I normally do. If I feel okay, I might gently lean forward. So I'm getting a stretch in the front of that right leg. And then I'm going to send my hip back. So this is where we're going to get this hamstring to the hamstring on the front leg. I can bend the knee to protect the hamstring, so don't pull anything. If you need yoga blocks, put them next to your feet or your knee. I don't need them, so I'm going to put my hands on the ground. Gently send the hip back. You might feel a stretch in this hamstring. Don't go so far you can't, if you can pull it. And we're going to just oscillate between these two shapes. Again, for 5. Just noticing what that hamstring on the front leg and the hip or the quad or your butt on the back leg. If you're not sitting back, that's okay. Respect your range of motion. You can use it as a gentle necessity. Doing your hips on the ground is fine. Again, once you have 5, we're gonna switch. And starting with neutral. So butt squeezed when you switch that side. Lean forward is a bonus, not a requirement. And bending the knee can protect that hamstring a little bit from overstretching and give you an honest assessment of what's happening leg to leg. If you're more flexible than I am, you can go farther, but I'm not really particularly flexible. Sorry, those are my knees crunching. You hear it. Doesn't hurt, it just makes a lot of noise. Okay. So let's kind of talk about our side plank rotations. Sorry, I wrote plank. I'll talk about it with weight and without weight. They're both very similar. First and foremost, your side plank. We can start with both legs straight or one leg bent. So holding the side plank is hard enough. That's going to be kind of step 1. Meaning if this is whether your hands are on your hip or above your head, this is kind of step 1. My hand, I know you can't quite see it, is above my shoulder. So my wrist, my shoulder, my opposite shoulder, my elbow are all in the same line. Okay. The rotation part, we are going to reach through this gap underneath my arm here. When I do this, I'm not looking to rotate so far that I feel like I'm going to flip over. And not so far that my bottom hip starts to rotate back with me. So the rotation is going to be a bit limited. It's hard to show on camera, but you're going to try and feel the sensation right under the armpit, around that shoulder, posterior shoulder, rotator cuff. So from the side, if you need to drop the bottom knee, that's okay too. You can do the same thing. I'm going to reach through, right? So I'm not reaching so far that I'm rotating off right here. This is about my reach here. I just passed my midline, and then I come back up, right? Again, you could do this full length, that's fine too. Let's try 3 per side, right? So just past my elbow, my fingertips, and back. This is unweighted, by the way. So that's option 1. Option 2 is we're gonna weight this. So I don't have actually, if I'm being honest, I don't have a weight available that's appropriate for this for me. 10 pounds is a bit of a stretch, at least right now. So I'm gonna demonstrate the water bottle, but if you have a can of beans, a couple pound weights, or if 10 pounds works for you, great. Same thing applies. So this is my imaginary weight, okay? Same thing, I'll just demonstrate the other side, just so I'm even. So I'm gonna be here, weight above my head. I'm gonna bring it down, same thing, just so instead of my hand, it's the weight. And then do the same drill. So it's one of those things where we're just adding load to the top arm or adding weight to the top arm. So that's going to be that's a way to kind of add complexity. or load. In this case, a little bit of both is okay as long as it feels appropriate. We'll be doing 6 to 8 per side, so slightly less than a couple weeks ago because we're adding complexity and load to this. So that's your second of the 2 movements we're going to be doing for the first part. The first movement in order of operations is going to be our cross body deadlift and single legged. So traditionally, I'm going to show you from the hips down with the kettlebell in this case. Dumbbells also work here. So when I'm doing this traditionally, I'm standing up, so right hand. I'm going to reach this kettlebell across to my left side. I'll show you the hips in a second. But also, directionally, I start right-handed. I'm going to my left foot. I'm still going to deadlift. All right, this is 2-footed. Watch your toes, by the way. Don't crush your toes. And then back up. So we're biasing the left butt cheek here, right? That's what we're sitting into. The right's still working. The left's working harder. Single leg, similar principle. We just take that stagger stance or leg lifted. We'll do the same thing. So we're overloading that left side. From the chest up, all the mechanics remain the same. So basically, I'm still going to cross towards this hand, right? But we're just extra biasing this left butt cheek in this case right now. Still going to get a hamstring and all that good stuff, but instead of being forward. So let's try that. Whether it's 2-footed, if you've never done a cross body deadlift, we're just going to take standing up, right hand, weight goes towards your opposite foot. Again, if it's dumbbell, don't worry, touching the ground. You just need to bend the knees, okay? So you just want the knees to bend. It's still a deadlift. So as my hips go back, it's still this. We're just gently rotating. I'm not rotating so much that I'm losing action through that side that I'm leaning towards. So we're going to need the chest to stay up. It's still a deadlift, right? We don't deadlift like this, right? We deadlift like this. So because your weights are not quite as big, it's okay with a dumbbell. We're not touching the ground. We're like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's to here, right? But I'm not reaching forward with my chest. My chest stays up. There you go. Even less than that, Arisa, like less chest movement. It's all, so if your back hurts, that's not what we're going for. We're going for back of the leg. So think of it this way. Stop there. That's it. That's all you need, right? Even less than that, actually. So imagine this. If we had a name tag, I should see your name tag, yes, the whole time. Or a little bit of the top of your A. Good. Once you have 6 cross body deadlifts, that's per side, per hand position. That's where we're going to do our 6 to 8 plank rotations. Okay, so we kind of snuck into our first round here. So you've completed at least one side of the cross body deadlifts. Let's do the other side if you haven't already. So switching hand positions. And then we're going to go to our plank side rotations. Or sorry, side plank rotations with or without weight. So have you done both sides? Okay, so side plank rotations. That's this one. That's this right here. Again, weighted or unweighted, not important. Weight, optional. Weight is great, but not enough. We're doing 6 to 8 per side. So like I said, we kind of snuck into round 1. We're going to do a total of 4. Feel free to remove weights in this case to scale back down. So if you're having trouble, drop the bottom knee and or remove the weight out of your hand and repeat the same drill. Your shoulder, hip, and knee or ankle should be a nice straight line the whole time. It's great, Arisa. Good. So again, we're going per side because we have 2 arms. Well, at least I assume we both have 2 arms. And then we will repeat that cycle of your deadlifts, whether it's single leg or double. It's okay to do both, or to either, excuse me. So the added complexity is rotation. The additional added complexity, should you choose, is going to be, yeah, sticking your hand out's great, especially if you have like a little support, or have your hand on the wall, just kind of ready at all times. Good. I know it's tempting, Joseph. Try not, don't reaching the ground. You kind of just reach in that direction. Yeah. You only need one weight in hand. So we're not alternating race. So we're going to stay on one side for, 6 reps and the other side for 6. So the other hand needs to stick its hand out, balance, or kind of like Joseph saying, have your hand near a wall. I know you don't have that option, but near a sofa, that's an option. Yep. Beautiful. And a nice visual too is having your weight near or in line with your toes. Again, don't crush your toes. If you kind of peaked, it should be covering the tops of your toes. So if it's in front of your toes, it's too far. That's the way I think about it. It's okay to rotate as much as you feel comfortable, Risa. So you don't have to, if you just cross the middle line of your body, that's good. But don't feel like you have to stop unless that feels, obviously, that's your own limitation happening. That's okay. Slightly rotating is okay, but we're rotating through the shoulder, this reach, as opposed to the hip rotating. Yeah. You're doing the single leg version of this, single leg deadlift, excuse me, hiccups. Deadlift, you can have that foot lifted or not. That's up to you, just like we've done in the past. So if your foot kicks up in the back, that's fine. If your foot stays down, it's whatever you find the most comfortable. Yeah, anyone with a big kettlebell, just watch your toes or dumbbell. Touching the ground is not implied unless the height happens to match your range of motion, the height of your kettlebell or dumbbell. Yeah, sometimes lifting the foot's easier. That's great, Risa. Yeah. Nice. Once you completed 4 total rounds, you can rest. We'll kind of regroup in a second. Or just resting between sets in general is okay. Hey, the single leg deadlift series look great. I think as soon as you went to single leg, it made more sense to you. It is okay to do 2-footed. For some people, that it varies. I think stability wise, 2 feet makes more sense. But it also limits rotation, right? So we end up having two contrasting forces, whereas when you still lift the leg, rotation tends to be the instinct. It's usually what we're fighting. So we're leaning into it this time. So either or, single leg or double was great. You're still going to do 6 per hand. Okay. Now we have our basically between 45 to 30 seconds of work. Okay. So you'll have good 15 to 30 seconds to rest, transition. We have 3 movements today. We're going to complete those 3 movements 4 times each. We're just going to cycle through them like a lift. So we have head cutters or thrusters. Again, forgive the name. It's horrific, but it's a good movement. It's just a terrible name. Head cutter thrusters. Basically, it's do you have a single kettlebell or do you have 2 dumbbells or 2 weights? Okay, that's what we're looking at. So basically single weight or 2 weights. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Followed by push-ups. I think we all know push-ups at this point. Scale as you need. I want 30 seconds of continuous motion. So the difficulty is going to vary on what you can do for 30 seconds of continuous motion. For me right now, not so much. Probably a lot of assistance for me right now. Followed by 30 seconds of a body saw. So body saw is just rocking back and forth or oscillating forward and back in a plank position. So let's start at the top of the list. We'll go order of operations. I want to talk about head cutters first and foremost, and then we'll talk about thrusters. They look very similar, again, just slightly different objects. And then, but the principle remains the same. They're both a squat and a press, just to be clear. So you're squatting down and pressing the weight up. So you're squatting, standing, and then pressing the weight, hopefully in one smooth motion. When we're doing let's start with the thruster actually. So we've done the thruster before. I'm going to show you a single weight first. So single dumbbell first, and I'll show you 2. You can do either. So ultimately, so we can get myself in camera here fully. Sort of. You won't see my feet, but you'll get the idea. So essentially, I have my weight close to my chest. I'm going to squat down, right? And then stand, press. Okay. So that's going to be my thruster. That's 1. I'm going to squat, stand, press. As high as obviously your shoulders will permit and the width of your dumbbell will allow. So if you have a narrow dumbbell like I have, I'm not getting my arm straight, and that's okay. Squatting, pressing. So it's a big leg drive. The arms just follow through. I'm not stopping at the shoulder. 2, same idea, same principle. Dumbbells on the shoulder, right? Squat, press, right? So something more complicated, we have 2 weights. Do 2 lighter weights, it's good. Your head cutter, I'm going to show you the top up because I can't do my whole body in the screen. We're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be carrying the kettlebell eventually like this. So as I press up, I'm kind of here, right? Again, not fully locked out with the elbow. I'm not elbow straight. That's okay. Doesn't really allow for it. But what I'm going to do is just, as I transition, my hands are pressing up here, okay? So that's my overhead position. From the bottom up, I'm starting between the feet. So I'm starting this like a deadlift. I'm going to stand it up and slide my hands around the outside. So I'm going to pick it up, slide my hands from the top to the outside. Okay. So it's going to be here. Actually, let's see if I can, sorry, apologies. I have a very short room and not a good camera for this. So my hands are on the bell. I'm going to slide the hand around. Right? So as I stand up, slide it around. So I end up kind of like my goblet position. So it's going to be here, 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 right? So we stand up, slide the hand around, squat down, stand up. Few extra steps. Let's do this. Let's grab your dumbbell or your kettlebell. Doesn't matter which one, but grab your thing or dumbbells. If you have dumbbells, they're on the shoulders. If you have a kettlebell or a dumbbell, singular, it's at the chest. Your kettlebell, we're going to deadlift this from the ground. So my athletes with the kettlebells, we're going to deadlift this, slide the hand around, and we'll catch. Right? If you have your dumbbell, you're just hanging out, you're hanging tight real quick. So you're gonna be here, here. Okay. Once you have that, you're gonna squat down. Squat down. And then big press. There you go. There you go. And that's 1 rep. Now, if you have a dumbbell, we're not doing from the ground up because we don't need to. If you have a kettlebell, a lighter one, albeit, we're gonna go from that ground position. It's okay to pause here if you need to pause here before you squat down. Eventually, we're gonna remove that pause. Does that make sense for the head cutters and or thrusters? Thumbs up if it makes sense. Thumbs sideways if it's a bit. Okay. Push-ups, we got covered. Body saws, last piece. Basically, I'm in my plank position on my forearms. We're gonna have the hands separate. So you're not gonna put your hands together. And we're gonna basically be shoulder over elbow. And I'm gonna go slowly in front of the elbow. Back and forth. So tiny little oscillations. That's it. If we need to just do a forearm plank hold, excuse me, if you just need to hold for a 30-second plank, we're up to 30 seconds. That's fine too. So that's that move, that forward and back motion, very little. It's just continuous. But we will have between 30 to 15 seconds of rest per movement or after each movement. So order of operations. Minute 1, I'll call these out. It's going to be your thrusters or your head cutters. Second is going to be your push-ups. Third is going to be body saws. Okay. Your push-up and body saws are 30 seconds. The thrusters can be anywhere between 30 to 45 seconds of work. Okay. Let me get my clock rolling. Excuse me. Wherever it is. Where is it? Okay. So we're starting with the squat and presses. So whether you have a kettlebell or the head cutters, if you have the dumbbell release, so we're just holding it here. We're just going to hold that at the chest. It's not going down to the ground. It comes down to the ground only if you're doing the head cutter version. Okay. We're starting in the next 5 seconds. We're going in 3, 2, 1, and go. There you go. So when you catch, Joseph, you're going to squat first. So catch the kettlebell. So you're going to kind of catch here, and then you're going to squat down and press. Yeah, there we go. Good. Nice reset. Try to make that 1 movement, not 2. So you're going to squat straight overhead. Yeah, there you go. Nice work. And rest. Okay, so put that weight down, or weights. Our next movement in the next 10 seconds is going to be push-ups. Again, 30 seconds of continuous movement in 3, 2, 1, and go. For anyone at home, you could just time yourself. It is okay to rest within your push-ups, of course, especially if you feel like those are starting to fatigue. If you're hitting a certain number on the push-ups, you could just kind of try and hit a number on the following rounds. 2, 1, rest. You're slowing down, kneeling, whatever you need. Good. The next movement is a body saw. So you're going to go in that forearm plank. You're starting this oscillation, that forward and back oscillation in 3, 2, 1, and go. Good. It's not big, just a little forward, a little back. You're shifting towards the hands and then shifting towards the toes. Back and forth. And just like our push-ups, taking a knee is fine. Or a break. Three, 2, 1, and rest. That's round 1, or 3 rounds in of 12. We're going back to our loaded movement shortly. Come back to standing, plenty of time, so 10 seconds. So kettlebells start from the ground. Dumbbells start at the chest. We're starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. You can treat that setup on that head cutter like a deadlift, so you can bend the knees, Joseph, if you want to. You can. Yeah. Nice. Good. Again, you can do 30 seconds or 45 seconds on this. It is officially 30 seconds now. It is okay to continue moving until I say rest. 3, 2, 1, rest. Good. You have 5 seconds until your push-ups, starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. So either for time, like we're doing, so I'm going to call 30 seconds when it happens, or try and match that number that you hit last time, or be near it. Be that number first prior to 30 seconds, that's okay to stop. Three, 2, 1, rest. Good. You can kind of hang out on the ground. You can kneel, whatever you need. You have 10 seconds till your body stops next. So you're going to find that forearm plank. We're starting in 5, 3, 2, 1, and go. Probably makes sense to say this, but go ahead and make sure you're breathing, right? Through your movements, particularly that body stop. Okay. And rest. Nice work. Okay, 10 seconds back to our weighted squat and press versions, whether it's head cutter or thruster, in 3, 2, 1, go. Again, I will call it 30 seconds, but you're welcome to work to 45. Like I said, that overhead position, whether it's dumbbell or kettlebell, does not have to be a full straightened elbow, especially when that grip is super narrow. That's 30 seconds. 30 to 1 movement. Don't pause the shoulder, just straight up. Yeah, there we go. And rest. 10 seconds to your push-ups. We're going in 3, 2, 1, and go. For anyone nursing some shoulder stuff, take a total number, divide it by 4, try and hit that number each minute. So you need to limit your volume, you can limit your volume. You can't lay all the way down to reset per that, then yeah. If you need to wiggle back up, just get wiggle back up. And rest. Good. It's okay to stay laying down for that rest if you want. We'll try body saws next. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go. And a plank hold here is fine if anyone needs to just hold a plank. Three, 2, 1, and rest. Nice work. This will be your final cycle of this, right? So final set of thrusters or head cutters, push-ups, and our body saws. So final one. This final round starts in 10 seconds. We're starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. Nice job. Nice work, y'all. It's great. That is your 30-second mark. So again, you have 15 more seconds to work should you want to. 2, 1, rest. Nice work. Fine. That was your final set of thrusters or head cutters. We are doing our push-ups, final set of push-ups. In 3, 2, 1, and go. We can get our chest to the ground. That's ideal. We need to lift up the hands on a sofa, on a sturdy piece of furniture. Otherwise, it's okay to lay down, kind of just wiggle back up or drop to the knees. Three, 2, 1. Go ahead, rest. Okay, you have 10 seconds, final set of body saws. Starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. Just a little gentle forward and back. Three, 2, 1, and rest indefinitely. Take a break. If you're going to grab some water, I recommend it. Sure. So while the head cutters and thrusters were slightly different, the mechanics ultimately of the squat and the overhead part were the same, right? The difference being the dumbbell, if you're doing thrusters, doesn't touch the ground necessarily, whereas the kettlebell starts on the ground. So there's kind of like an extra step with the kettlebell. I would say 80% of the lift is pretty similar. So both of you, nice work with that kind of, I know, slightly different variation, and trying to follow those directions. They weren't clear. You can kind of give me a hand. I'll pause. Nice work. So we're just going to go ahead, recover a little bit. We have about 10 minutes left. We might not use all 10 minutes, but what we can do here is just do a quick stretch recovery piece. We're kind of actually repeat the same movements we did in the warm-up. We're just going to use it as a cool down. So the two movements I'm thinking of are that threading the needle again, because it feels nice. And I can't think of a better name for this, but like hamstring flossing. That's this one where we're kneeling here, right? Or here. Okay. So we can start with threading the needle first, as at your own pace, of course. Just gently opening the chest, rotating, and kind of repeating the same movements we did in the warm-up, but it might see if it feels any different. I didn't do the workout, so I don't know, but you can tell me if it feels different the first time. Gently. Again, you can do 3 to 5 on this one, so I'm a little more relaxed about the count here on your threading the needle.
Yeah, my arms, my shoulders definitely felt like they've worked.
Yeah, that's okay. If we need a slightly less, say, shoulder intensive variation of this, like that, an upper back opener. So you're doing a side plank rotation. Is that where you're doing that on purpose, Risa, or are you just doing more for fun? So I mean, like tabletop. Like, there's also wrong. They're both rotations, in fairness. But I'm gonna take a note out of Joseph's book. We can do some child's pose. But as we do this, you can just reach your hand. So instead of being middle, just gently reach to one side. So child's pose, hands are forward at 12 o'clock. Relax here. And let's move our hands slightly to 11 if we're on an analog clock. If you don't know what that is, you should look at it. The head, you might feel stretch on the right side. When you're ready, you can come back to the middle and move our hands to 1 o'clock on our imaginary clock, or towards 1. It's not quite 1 o'clock. And last but not least, we're gonna do that hamstring flossing, right? That's where we take one side, you're gonna take a knee. Again, just gently squeeze your butt on the back leg. If you can lean forward, we lean forward. It's okay if you can't. That might be a stretch on its own. Then we gently lean back. Again, yoga blocks or books or having a sofa on the other side of you support you is fine. I'm okay putting my fingers to the ground, but not everyone is. Let's do 5 more per side. Hopefully, you're more warmed than I am. And hopefully, either we're getting a gentle stretch or you're getting more of a stretch, potentially. You're feeling a little warmed up. Did you have 5 one direction or one side? Gently switch. Or maybe just hold this position. That kneeling is plenty. Sometimes that is enough. Motion from this point onwards is fully optional. You can ask Nikki, don't strain a hamstring. It's not a fun injury. You laugh about it for about 2 seconds, and then 8 months later, you're like, this is no longer funny. He did to himself. Mountain biking. Excellent. I'm going to give you 5 extra minutes on your day because I think we could always use like 5 extra minutes somewhere. Good work today. Let me know how you're feeling. I know we added complexity, so we're kind of tying in the brain and the body, trying to put those together. If you have any questions about what we did today, I'll be on Discord. I'll kind of check as frequently as is reasonable. I cannot do I use Slack, email, text. I can't. So I'll do the best I can with Discord. But yeah, just reach out to me directly and or through the string channel, and I will be available for your questions. I can also post instructional videos if anything I say here is not clear enough. That's an option too. Nice work today, guys.
All right, thank you,
Showing up.
Kirstie.
Have a
See
good
ya.
one.
All
Have a
right.
good
All right. Thank
Bye,
you.
Lisa.
Bye. Thanks, Kirstie.